Welcome to the Nerd Stalker podcast. This is number 4,000. Well, first tell us who you are.
Hey, I'm Social Greg, social media maven at B-Tracks Incorporated. So I'm here to every week to give you my opinion on the local SF New Tech scene. I'm going to tell you where I'm at.
Yeah.
You see my Mega T-shirt, and I'll give you a little peek. I'm live at Startup Weekend, Mega Startup Weekend here in the Microsoft Silicon Valley headquarters. So for those people that don't know Startup Weekend starts on a Friday and ends on a Sunday. It's a 54-hour development marathon, essentially. So on Friday night, 140, 150 participants. I haven't got the latest count from the organizer, but basically they divide into 3 categories: health, education, gamification, and there's about, I would say, 30 original pitches for ideas in each one of these vertical categories. So what happens is that by pure voting, they vote for the best 10 for each of the categories. So it's really fascinating to see this process happen. And after those 10 are selected, people basically just jump on board. You have marketing people, you have developers, you have designers, you have people that just come up with, business development stuff. So it's really fascinating the type of people that we get here. It's all sorts. It isn't just developers and coders that you see up here. So it was very fascinating.
Well, I'm looking at the website right now, Greg, and I see that there's a ton of speakers there. You have Mark and Nager, Startup Weekend guy, Neil Silverman's demoing, Ron Gutman, Health Tap, Daniel Kraft of Future Med, Steve Case of the Case Foundation, obviously Reid Hoffman's there, LinkedIn and Greylock Partners, Matt Thompson from Microsoft, Scott Case, Startup America. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, so Reid Hoffman gave a keynote speech on Friday night, and very encouraging words about really entrepreneurship and doing startups, and he comes up. Well, he's made a lot of money, so he could look humble, I guess. But anyway, but I think that that was a really good opening. I think what you see here is really a microcosm of the whole Silicon Valley culture, which is very unique to anything like it in the world. I mean, there's other startup weekends, but when I talk to other people who have visited other startup weekends, this is definitely the pinnacle or the gemstone of the whole thing. So, especially with the amount of people I saw here, this weekend, there's about, like I said, 150, and then probably additional 50 people kind of observing and helping out and stuff like that. So it's incredible.
Wow.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Very cool. Look forward to hearing more updates from there, as it progresses.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I want to talk about one thing I saw.
Okay.
The health thing was really kind of cool. And the one thing that there was Daniel Kraft, who's kind of like a physician scientist. He gave a really good speech on Saturday morning about the future of health and using mobile devices to really help the medical profession, monitoring of patients, creating even designer pills. I'm not talking about Gucci pills, but actually pills that could be actually designed to help you via mobile devices and monitoring yourself, right? So basically, all these doses, the problem you have with a lot of these doses, they're just guessed at, right? It's not until your body really kind of readjusts and figure out what dosage is really right for it.
Right.
You don't know.
Right.
What he was proposing, can you use these mobile devices to really kind of change the game and help monitor yourself during this critical period where the physician could actually redesign a concoction for you, if you want to call it that, send it to the actual Walgreens or drugstore, and then get the reformulated prescription back to you. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. All that technology is probably in place.
Wow.
Especially with these devices. So he talked about that, and he just talked about some really wild stuff in terms of health diagnosis online. So that was one of the actually best takeaways I thought this weekend that was happening. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff here, but
yeah, but that's like a life-changing thing. Yeah, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. So anyway, I'll give you another second part update after I see the finalists present tonight, probably this week, and we could figure out what's going on there. But there's some really cool people here. We had a party last night, and Microsoft really was cool for Microsoft. They had a big tent party, live band, invited a lot of developers. in the community for Microsoft, and inviting the startup weekend people to mingle.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of neat. Microsoft is really making an effort to try to reach out to the startup community and developer community.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know they have the BizSpark program, which reaches out to startups and gives them access to all kinds of, actually all their tools for free to build off of.
Right, because I think they have a bad rep, which is really, you have to pay to get in. But I think with the BizSpark program, it actually allows a startup to actually get these bootstrap, resources to try to use Microsoft development tools. So it's a great deal.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it is a great deal.
It's good. I'm having a great time here, so.
Very cool. Yeah, they throw a good party, and they throw a good conference.
Yeah. I'm happy. Social Greg is happy.
Yeah, nice. It's like just coincidental too. Social Greg, is at Startup Weekend Microsoft putting on right today and over this weekend, depending on when you're listening to this podcast or viewing it.
Right.
And tomorrow, for my tomorrow, I'll be at the first day of the Build conference in Anaheim, which Microsoft is putting on as well. So it should be a blast. Next time you need someone to work on your home, repair your car, or fix your teeth, check Angie's List first. Join Angie's List and use promo code NERD for 25% off your membership. That's NERD, N-E-R-D, for 25% off your Angie's List membership. Thanks. Well, lots of stories this week, man, that happened. We thought we, would hear the end of a lot of this stuff, but this Yahoo Carol Bartz story just will not die.
It's that long tail thing, right? Like they always say, is that there's always going to be a really heightened interest, and then it's going to tail off. But I don't know. I'm not seeing that with this thing with Carol Bartz of Yahoo. But yeah, that was pretty fascinating. STEM Media said, really kind of had an opinion article this week about why Carol Bartz got fired. So let me read some of that here.
Yeah.
He said, Bartz's firing wasn't sudden. As I argued in a modern social analyst column, a battle above Yahoo's long-term has been brewing for months. Traders were disappointed with performance. Yahoo share price tag has risen a meager $1.15 since Bartz took over at the helm. And most substantially, the firm hasn't identified a way to generate new profit streams, stabilize its finances, and retain its best engineering expertise. Pretty much summed it all up there. Is that what you're hearing on your side?
Yeah, man. She's been a continuously unpopular CEO. She was pretty much brought in for the task of paring the place down, right, to save costs and trim down. I guess to that extent, of course, you're not going to be a popular CEO. She came from Autodesk, where she was equally pretty unpopular, even though they had a big turnaround. Yahoo's a different kind of animal, and no one seems to have a grasp on what kind of animal that is. They have an incredible development team there who's created YUI and a lot of stuff where they did. I don't know, it seems to be just unraveling there. So it's unfortunate to that extent, but everyone's like, is this an entertainment company? Is this a development company? What are they, a search company? What is this, And what I've just read, some news that I guess broke today from I can't recall, is that Carol Bartz has resigned from the board of directors. So she did have a seat on the board of directors after this. The firing, the CEO position, and she was claiming in another article apparently that she was going to stay on as the board because she cared so much about Yahoo employees. But that apparently does not seem to be the case. She's just announced, or there was a breaking story today, that she has resigned from the board of directors. And there was also another story as well related to this, that the board is apparently not even looking right now, as of yet, for a replacement CEO. They're actually exploring the options of a sale of Yahoo as a whole or in pieces. So they're looking at that first, and then they may follow up with the CEO search. So and Jerry Yang, former CEO, is scrambling to get investors because he wants to buy Yahoo back also. But apparently,
I heard that as well.
Yeah, apparently the chairman of the board, I forget the gentleman's name, is really against Jerry Yang trying to buy it. But I hear his head is possibly on the table too by investors, because investors are so unhappy. So it's just an absolute mess at Yahoo right now. Absolute mess.
Well, it's funny that, as you know, I'm connected with Japan very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Yahoo Japan is the number one search engine in Japan.
Right,
so
right. Wow. Did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, if you think about their portfolio and how it's been received. I agree with you. I've lost track of what Yahoo is really now. It's just basically a front end to my AT&T net mail now.
Yeah, really. I mean,
let's
think about their huge properties, right? There's Flickr, right? And apparently, from what I hear, that's a money-losing situation. But, I mean, a lot of people and photographers, I mean, Flickr is the gold standard, right, for that hosting of images and all that. What else? Yahoo Mail, I think, is still in the top 2 or 3 of email clients. It's massive. And then another really interesting partnership is the Microsoft partnership, right? They've effectively paid Yahoo to make Bing the Yahoo search.
Right.
So there's some question as to what does the sale or what is this whole what are the implications in the scenarios for Microsoft in this situation? So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out as well.
I always thought that when Carol Bartz took over and they were kind of I thought they were using this shroud of reorganizing really to sell it off, and Microsoft came with an offer, did they? And
yeah,
said,
a huge one, a massive one, right?
That's when I got really confused about it, because I really thought they brought her in there to actually dismantle the place and sell it off. Now they're going to do it anyway. Now, what sounds like from what you had just said earlier. So okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I get Microsoft dodged a bullet on that one. That's for sure. Not with not acquiring it. I mean, they spent a ton of money on Skype, so it could be assumed or said that they've taken a bullet from that one.
Yeah.
But I digress. So next story, man. Amazon tax in California.
Oh man, dude, we're entering the Christmas season soon, right? But CNET wrote an article this week about the Amazon California debacle. So basically, behind the scenes in Sacramento, Amazon was trying to work out a deal with the state of California to kind of work on this delay in this tax thing, right? So no one knows, in e-commerce, basically what happens for tax is that if your company isn't in the state that originates, you don't have, in this case, California, you don't have to charge tax for it. Well, and that was years ago when e-commerce was just a baby, right? But now it is big business, and the problem is with all the budget crisis here in California, that's just another source of revenue that they're losing out on. At least that's what the lawmakers feel. So what really was on the table before all this happened was that Amazon was trying to negotiate with the state of California to really delay this new law, which will say, hey, anyone has to pay state tax now, regardless where you live. And so they wanted to delay it to 2014, I think. Now, for some reason, they're going to delay it just a year to 2012 July.
Wow.
We're going to make it through this Christmas season without any of that impact, but starting next year, you're going to see this impact of tax everywhere. I mean, it really is a shame, because if you look at the long-term ramifications for this for California, is that companies now are going to understand, do I really want to do e-commerce business in California?
Yeah.
Is this really going to work for me? In fact, I read in that article later that actually Amazon's deal also included, hey, we're a big company, we're a big e-commerce giant, we have all these people who operate in California, we could probably guarantee you guys more jobs in California, which will help your economy in the long run. And they were trying to use that argument to offset the tax implications, which I think they were saying an estimate of $200 million. And, in this state, $200 million will go a long way.
Right. They were offering 6 additional distribution centers and I guess guaranteeing something like 7,000 additional jobs for California.
Yeah. I mean, and let's face it, we all buy things online these days, right? So it's not it's not a stretch to say that this market will not just grow, enormously, and it has, right? But now I don't know. What do you think about?
You know,
You think you're
I'm
going to
not.
start buying things from China now?
You know, I wonder. I wonder if it's going to help the local, your local stores.
Really?
Is it going to benefit them? And then also, what you're seeing is, as you said, now, since as they say, as California goes, so does the nation. If they're going to see California collecting revenue on this, every state in the United States, and I'm speaking from a U.S. perspective here, is desperate for cash right now. Is desperate for cash. So the theory is once California does this and gets the deal in place, everyone's going to want a piece of the pie. So everyone's going to get on it. And not only that, there'll probably be, the federal government will probably slap on a national sales, some sort of tax or something like that.
Yeah,
So I don't know necessarily about the implications strictly for California in terms of jobs, but it may resonate actually nationally across the board.
Oh, like you said, I think
and increased costs too, right, to the consumer.
Yeah, because I think in 1992 the Supreme Court kind of ruled that you can't enforce this type of thing, but now with the biggest retailer on the face of the planet, Amazon kind of caving in. I mean, they basically put the white flag up. But I'm not quite sure exactly why that play was made, and that's why I want to kind of dig into more of the backstories into this. Look at some of the legislature and some of the, let's say, groups that are influencing this decision. I'm kind of wondering what really is going to happen long term with all this. So let's stay tuned on this one.
Yeah. So, as we stated last week, we were talking about new operating systems on, I can't remember who, on mobile phones. And what we're hearing now
we were talking about Nokia and Microsoft a little bit,
Yeah, so it looks like Alibaba to release English mobile operating system this month in executive reports. Additionally, Baidu to launch knockoff Android OS. So here goes our predictions of new operating systems coming to fruition for the mobile phone market, right? And probably just call it mobile market, right?
Right. Well, I mean, with China, their mobile phone market is nothing but growing, right? And it's going to exceed, with their population, anything that we know here in the United States, right? So I think that play makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're going to have to develop a localized OS for the Chinese market, and so I think it's just that play, but converting it into English is an interesting play on itself. Yeah. It's saying, hey, we think we have a decent operating system, and guess what?
Yeah.
I think
you
guys
can
use it.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is super growing pie. Yeah. So Alibaba launched in late July its first self-developed mobile operating system and smartphone in a bid to capture a slice of China's rapidly growing mobile internet market. Earlier this week, Dell Incorporated confirmed that it's working with Baidu Incorporated to develop smartphone and tablets for the Chinese market.
Oh, man. I mean, it makes sense from Dell's point of view. I mean, I think probably most of their components are built there anyway. So just something to serve that local market. I mean, there's this big debate, and we talk about it a lot in our marketing meetings since we serve China as well at our company, is that, the local market there is so strong. Is there really a need for anybody in China to really globalize? And whether they should globalize now or later. Japan actually had that same model, right, in the 60s, 70s, 80s. They slowly brought in cheap items, and then made in Japan now is a great thing. Where made in Japan in the 60s was, the cheapest item on the face of the planet, right? And made in China still was viewed that same way, and to a certain degree, with certain components still, we do believe that, but they're coming out with their own luxury brands out there that is just killer. I mean, just killer. And so I think with that shift, maybe they've learned from what the Japanese did, that maybe they need to globalize earlier and just serve the domestic market if they have strength. I mean, Alibaba is huge, so Baidu is huge. So I think they probably have the money strength to do that.
Yeah. So from like a development perspective, this is really interesting. Baidu, Chinese search giant Baidu has created a smartphone operating system which borrows heavily from Android. Baidu Yi is a fork or a customized Android derivative designed to place its spotlight on the company's range of mobile apps. The smartphone OS operates in almost exactly the same way as Android, using a single sign-on that links users to the search engines, mapping clouds, blah, 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 and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Which is, this is really interesting because this is what we're going to see, I think, is more of this Android forking that people were worried about. So suddenly, companies are going to take, and this is the theory now, bits of Android, Android kernel, whatever, and fork it, create their own version of it since it is open source, and make it Greg's operating system. And so long, and call it something else. So long, Android.
Absolutely. I think, having an open source system actually will enable things like that. And good or bad, when a big company like Alibaba or Baidu have these resources to bear down on it, they could actually probably make something even better, quite frankly.
Possibly.
Where you're on some of these other platforms, which doesn't have a big following or a big name behind it, those kind of have more of a local development feel to it, which I think originally is really what they wanted to have with Android. But I think now it's just big business. I mean, with the Android market going to about 50% in 2015, they were saying it is kind of crazy, right? I mean, if that estimate does come true, right? I mean, why not participate now in it? Right?
Yeah, well, this is another good part here. It says, while Baidu harbors ambitions for expansion beyond China, where Google's semi-exile in Hong Kong makes it difficult for them to operate, it's hard to see Baidu Yi really taking off in foreign climates. Nevertheless, the fork is something of an annoyance for Larry Page and company as they seek to centralize the Android ecosystem for a simplified user experience. Thanks to Robert Leadham from Drippler for that story.
Okay, for the Nerd Stalker funny of the week, I think we're trying to do something funny every week, right? So, forget about this serious Carol Bart stuff, right? So there's an article I came across this week, I think I tweeted you on, which is rent out your toilet with Clue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us about that.
And I don't know, this is serious business, I don't know how funny this is now. Clue is a service designed to help city dwellers make some spare cash by renting out their bathrooms to people who are desperate to find a clean place to go to the bathroom. Hey, times are tough, and whether there's a need, there's a market. So Clue is based on one simple truth: we all need to go to the restroom. Though in urban cities, finding a clean, available restroom is difficult and frustrating, and so this is where Clue comes in. It's a mobile application where you can, based on your locations, find, areas for you to take a leak or whatever you need to do, right? And then there's an online sort of token transaction that occurs, and you just do your business and take off.
I love it. Well, after a 54-hour thing like this, there's sort of pretty stinky people. Actually, not really. They go home and take showers, but I mean, I could imagine for a lot of these startups in San Francisco where we live, Adolfo, these guys working overnight, they want to just take a quick shower or anything like that, maybe that's 2 minutes away. And
being
go
a parent too, man. With a baby or something,
Yeah, in the park, right? Like you're in the park and you said, oh, man.
Or walking around somewhere downtown and your kid's like, I gotta go now, Although it'll take some time for you to whip your phone out and do this and that.
Get the phone out.
Hang on, I'm looking at my phone. Wait, not yet.
Yeah.
Hold on to that diaper.
Just a second.
Yeah, so Clue, you could do a search from, I think they have an iPhone application available now at CLOO. It looks like an Android app is on the way. They are hiring people out there, so, check them out.
Cool. Wow, that was fun, man.
Yeah, Greg.
I'm going to have to go back to, in a little bit here, they're going to have all the summaries from all the teams,
Very cool.
30 summaries. I'm going to have to go through this tonight, and I'll report next week on some of the top ones that I've seen, and I'll write a blog on it probably as well. So anyway.
Right. And I'll be updating everyone, too, at the Build Conference in Anaheim. That's happening from the 12th to the 16th, and I'll be, tweeting and maybe doing some audio daily updates or something like that, and then we'll regroup, Greg, and, give everyone the whole digestion, the clue of it all.
Hey, when's FailCon again?
FailCon is coming up, October 24th. How nice of you to ask. Our friend Cass Phillip puts it on. It's October 24th at the Kabuki Hotel in San Francisco. You can get more information at thefailcon.com. FailCon is a one-day conference for tech entrepreneurs, investors, developers, and designers to study their own and others' failures to prepare for success. A lot of great speakers there from Joe Gebbia at Airbnb and some great venture capitalists there and other startup founders to give you a lot of information. Make sure to be there October 24th at the Kabuki Hotel in San Francisco, FailCon.
Cool.
All right, Greg.
Cool, man.
So I am at Nerdstalker. You can reach me here at Nerdstalker on Twitter. I'm Adolfo Ferranda. That's me. Hello. And you can email me at adolfo@nerdstalker.com.
And I'm Social Greg, live from Microsoft Startup Weekend. And what I want you guys to do is help us with some of these weekly tasks. So we use the hashtag NRDSTK. So if you want us to talk about something, go ahead and attach that hashtag on Twitter. We'll consider it for our talk for the podcast for the next week. So anyway, you guys have a good weekend out there.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, take care.
See ya.